So I'm here today with the great pianist, composer, band leader, recording artist, Jim Ridl. Jim is an amazing pianist, and I've heard him play a couple times. He was just recently at Furman University, where I'm an adjunct. He came with the Tim Armacost Quintet, and it was just a great, inspiring performance by all these guys. And I was particularly struck by just the beauty of Jim's playing, and I'm happy that he's agreed to do this interview. So welcome, Jim. How are you doing today?
Good, Keith, and thank you, man. Thanks for asking me to for our conversation, and
Absolutely.
yeah,
I'm pleased that you're willing and able to do it. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely, man.
So I have to say that once again, I just said it, but that concert was just, I mean, we don't get to hear, for one thing, we don't get to hear things of that quality and that level down here that often. So that was just very inspiring for me personally.
Yeah,
And to meet all you guys and hear you and here to see the master class. The master class was great too.
yeah. Well, it was good. I mean, special for us to, be performing Tim's music together, and then also to share, share our knowledge with the students was, I like how Tim sets that up, or that's very important to him, and well, I think to all of us, but that was a good thing.
Yeah, because I know you're an educator as well as being a performer.
Yeah, and then more, I'm getting deeper into education as I mean, I've always taught, but more things are opening up that way, which is good. I mean, I'm still primarily a player, but these things are sometimes just kind of going hand in hand with tours, and that's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I like teaching myself. I think it's very inspiring. Always tell my students I learn more than they do.
Yeah, it's right. I mean, it's amazing what we learn as well teachers, but we're learning as teachers, and I think that's, if we're not, then something's maybe a little off. Or
yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, you won't remember this, but the first time I met you and heard you play was in New York in about, I think it was 2019, end of 2019, beginning of 2020. I was in New York. I came for one day just to meet an old friend of mine and have dinner with him and his wife. I was in New Jersey for a week. And
yeah.
I was down in the village waiting to meet him, and I looked down at the 55 bar, and there's Marianne de Prophetess on the board, who was Frank's wife.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
And I was like, wow, what kind of coincidence is that? So I went in and heard her, and you were playing with her, and got to meet you and talk to you a little bit.
God, that's right, man. That's amazing, because you must have been friends with Marianne as well, right? Through Frank,
that was the first time I met her. I knew Frank.
Oh, okay.
Frank is good friends with my friend Ron, who they went to college together.
Ah.
And I'd heard Frank play. I've been hearing Frank play for several years, and finally got to meet him. And I told this story too. I came to New York. I got a grant from my city arts council to come to New York and study with Frank a few years ago.
That's right. Wow.
So
yeah. Special and poignant,
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yes. So, but let's back to you. I want to know more about you. I was reading your bio, and I see that you grew up on a farm in North Dakota.
Yeah.
How did you get started with piano, growing up on a farm in North Dakota?
Well, the good thing, like with my parents, and in particular my father, I mean, both my parents enjoyed music, and they grew up with the big band era, swing bands and all this stuff, and that was their, pop music of the day. And anyway, my father, insisted that all of us kids take piano lessons, and I'm the youngest of five. And so even though he didn't play, nor my mother, they really supported us in that way. So as far as kind of what stuck with everybody, my oldest brother was a musician. He's since passed, but he, not so much with piano, but with guitar and bass and saxophone, and even some composing. He was an inspiration to me. And then my sister, next in line, she played piano for 10 years classically. And, but then at some point she stopped. And my other two brothers, a love of music, but just didn't didn't pursue it. They took piano lessons, but so when it got to me, I of course had some piano lessons at the parochial school I was at with a sister Rebecca, and she, whatever the case, after a couple of years, I quit. I was just in grade school, and my father was really, really upset. But I kind of was very stubborn about it. But I continued to play and learn things by ear. I was still very, very struck by playing piano, and so it was, tunes probably that my siblings were really listening to and that I liked, and I'd get little things, so I didn't study so there was this period between when I quit and then I was playing just by ear, and then it was obvious, I guess, I was playing because my father asked a pianist that was in my hometown. He was at the Teachers College. He was a student from Canada. And my father had heard him play keyboard with this guitarist that was actually from Boston. This is in the mid-1970s, early to mid-1970s. And so this tiny little Teachers College in Dickinson, North Dakota, attracted students from all over the country and even internationally too. And so luckily for me, I mean, my father heard this, keyboard and guitar duet, really enjoyed them. And he asked Keith, who was, the pianist, if he would teach me. And so I got together at his, where he was teaching at this school. Anyway, when I heard him play, I go, that's it, man. That's what I want to do. And it was that immediate and solidified everything. And so I studied with him, and he opened up like such a world of music to me, primarily jazz, but Herbie Hancock, Keith Jarrett, Chick Corea, and many, many pianists, and some country pianists, some ragtime, and Oscar Peterson, of course, and then I did take some. I know I'm elaborating, but this is all within North Dakota. There was my teacher Keith. He said, "Well, you should take some classical lessons too." And there was a wonderful teacher that I took lessons with for a couple years as well before I went to college. So anyway, that's how, music is everywhere. And even in this very small town and, and very much a rural kind of place, this music, as just travels all over the world. So it's very lucky that way. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that basically this takes you through high school, and then you went to college and continued to study music also?
Yeah. When I, yes, when I got out of high school, actually one other thing, I met another pianist actually that was only a couple years older than me, but was prodigious. So at that age, sometimes you're close in age, but it's kind of spread out, just in terms of experience and stuff. So there's this pianist, Rob Mullins, who lives in LA. And he's more on, he's a terrific jazz pianist, but a little bit more of, not to pigeonhole what he does, but more smooth jazz. But he also plays with Hubert Laws. So but his own music sits in that genre, but he's a formidable musician. He was at a jazz camp teaching at a jazz camp in North Dakota when I was in high school. And I went to that, and he opened up other things that were different than Keith, and so I stayed in touch with him. He referred me to some colleges in Denver. Yeah, that was through him. And I ended up going to a university in Denver that was a branch off of Boulder, Colorado. And Yeah, for 4.5 years I was there and got a degree in scoring and arranging, and you know, kind of more composition. But I played all the time. I was in jazz ensembles, and I was also gigging. Started to gig a lot in in Denver and the state. And yeah, so it really, it just was totally 100% that, just as it still is now. I mean, essentially,
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you were in Denver, was Art Landy there yet?
Yes, he was. I'm trying to think when I first met him or heard of him. It was probably, well, yeah, had to be, maybe in my uh, junior or senior year in college. I think I was hearing about him, but I don't know that I met him yet. But he was on the scene. The scene. It's not quite the way of putting it.
Yeah.
He was primarily in Boulder, and he taught up there. And then, after college, he was more prominently making performances in that whole area. And so I got to meet him through some other musicians, and just an amazing musician. I didn't study with him, but any chance I could, I got to hear him. And then later on, through actually the bass player Dean Johnson, who was probably on that gig with Marianne.
He was, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he's played with Art for decades, and so it was through Dean. It was kind of cool to, actually kind of meet Art again, but me as a more experienced musician, and it's nice to have some conversations with him in that way. So
I interviewed him for this podcast too.
Oh yeah, man. Oh God,
really good interview.
Yeah, I bet he's a fascinating musician. Wow,
really
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
So, how did you end up in New York City?
Well, after being in Denver for 12 years, I mean, it was always a goal to get out here. I had in college. I mean, this ties in because in college I met my wife Kathy, who was also she ended up getting the same degree that I have. We both got it in scoring and arranging, and so she's a bass player, violist, and came from a choral music family, and so quite the musician and artist, visual artist too. Anyway, we had gotten married in '82, and then we had sights about eventually moving, and we moved in 1990. We moved out here, and I mean, even though the life in Denver was really, really good. I mean, it's a big enough city that it houses, all the scenes of jazz and classical, and I mean, funk at the time, and avant-garde, rock, punk, shit, all everything, country music, and a very good classical orchestra. But I was in particular hungry for to be in New York, and so we made the move. We ended up kind of not in New York City directly, but in New Jersey at that time, in between Philadelphia and New York. So I ended up actually playing a lot in Philadelphia in those first 15 years. I was playing in New York, but it just wasn't as often and as substantial. Well, the gigs are substantial, but just not really on the scene, so to speak, until we moved up here in 2007. And then it was just, even though I'd played here for a long time, it's different, it's just
sure.
Proximity. Oh, you're here, boom, it's like, so, interesting how those things work, you find out. Excuse me. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So how'd you meet Tim?
Tim, Yeah, Tim Armacost. I initially, wow, this is interesting because within about a year of moving out here, this would have been 1990 or 91. I met him as we were living in Trenton, New Jersey, and there was this Italian restaurant that would have jazz on the weekends, like in this, just across the border in Pennsylvania. Anyway, there was this group, Tim Armacost and Bob Bowman. I'm trying to think of the other players. Anyway, I ended up meeting him there just by chance, just hearing him. And then I think I had I'd heard about his name through someone else. It said, if you're, check out Tim Armacost. Anyway, and it wasn't until years later, like around 2008 or 9, when we moved up here, that I ended up on a gig with Tim, through somebody else's gig, but he was on it. And so that was great. And, so since that time, we've just been playing in, crossing paths in big bands, also playing his music, and he's also played my music quite a bit, and so it's, it's the scene is surprisingly small in New York, but at the same time, you can go for years without crossing paths, and then, then it finally happens, and I'm really, really glad it has with Tim, because, as you know and as you hear, he's such a great musician, player and composer, and a really, really good person. And it's nice to have built such a strong musical friendship with him, and especially with this last record of, it was really nice. He asked me to play in such a stellar group and to, to perform it for 2 weeks was a great experience. So.
Yeah, he made the comment that he wrote that music especially for those musicians, for you and the guys in that band.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really a great idea. And also, I could just tell, like, him in particular as a band leader, there's something about the way it's organized. I mean, I know it's jazz; it's not completely organized, of course, but there's something about the organization of the performance and the compositions that just really struck me. I mean, there's a lot of freedom, but at the same time, it's I don't know how to say it. It's all put together very well.
Yeah.
And everybody just interacts very well, and just amazing. It was very inspiring, I would say.
Yeah. Well, I found it inspiring too. I mean, and challenging, but what as over the course of those 2 weeks of playing his music, of course, all of us couldn't help but be deeper into the music with each night, each gig, and getting away from the page, less reading. I mean, Tim wasn't reading, but the rest of us, and Rudy had it memorized. But anyway, to get deeper into Tim's compositions was really, it's a treasure. What I liked most about it was the construction of the compositions. There's plenty of written music, but then when everybody would solo, it was, there was just so much room that he provided. I guess 2 things. I mean, it was a great solo sections, great changes and phrasing and challenging things like that. But then along with that, I really appreciated this from Tim. He wasn't on the clock, like going, okay, better cut that solo out here, cut that solo. He never ever did that, which is fine to do. I understand kind of that trimming thing, but he just allowed us to play. And I just love that. That's part of this art form that I love when people really, really get to stretch in situations, in concert situations and clubs. It's, he never handcuffed any of us. So that says a lot about his confidence to me as a leader and also as a composer of like, and it wasn't like cookie cutter, oh, it's the same way with every composition. It wasn't. And I personally grew as a musician with that whole experience. Of course, recording is music, but then even going deeper. That's a gift, man, to have the whole 2 weeks of performing with the same people. I mean, it's just, it's not an easy thing to do. And that was, Tim was like, just a warrior and a hero. They're putting all of it together, really something.
I asked him if he was you guys should make a record at the end of the tour as well as before the tour.
Yeah. Well, I know. Well, it's the playing is just that much more grooving, but also more open, But
you can hear it. You can hear the freedom there. So what I meant, he just let you guys play. And you could tell he was enjoying it as much as you were and as much as we were.
Yeah. It was a really good chemistry with all of us musically, and very supportive in that way. I don't know what that means at this stage of the game. It still means something when you're, it doesn't even have to be spoken, but you get the vibe of like, everybody's kind of is very conscious of each other and not just playing, even though the playing could be remarkable, but there's something a little bit missing. I don't know. It felt very, very connected and good traveling, mates and all that kind of thing was really good. That helps.
Nice to play music with your friends. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And people really across the board dug the music, and, it was very well received. I was very happy for Tim. I mean, I hope he gets more stuff out of it. I mean, selfishly for myself, but just also, for him just to have more opportunities to play this music would be great. We'll see.
So I see from your bio, I see you also play in Joe Locke's group.
Yeah.
And I imagine you have some history with the other guys in the band too, on other projects.
Yeah. Well, with Joe, just another amazing musician and composer, and such a kind of a formidable musical force.
He really is. Yeah.
And I've been playing with his quartet, I guess, technically it's maybe since, the first recording we did of Subtle Disguise, that was 2017, but kind of the music was, and playing together was brewing for a few years before that. So I don't know, it's like 8 or 10 years. And I knew about him for a long time. And I ended up playing with Joe through this great drummer, Tim Horner.
Oh, yeah.
Who's a great composer. And I played on Tim's records. And one of them was Joe. And they go way back, back into the 80s of, in the city here. And anyway, that's how I met Joe. And then, we've ended up playing on some projects outside of like his music and my music, and such as with Tim, and so that's really, really, really great with Joe. And then in Joe's group, I don't know if you were referring to Joe's group, the musicians there.
Tim's group that you played with is.
Yeah.
I'd like to just hear you talk about the musicians you've play with. That you like.
Yeah. Well, with in Tim's group, Tim and Joe, and then Kenny Davis on bass. I played with Kenny quite a bit over the years. I mean, it's not all the time, but in particular projects with the great tenor player Ralph Bowen, who's at Rutgers up here, and so primarily with Ralph, and then just other projects. And so Kenny's amazing, and Rudy Royston, I've just never played with him a lot, but it's been more in the last 3 or 4 years, which is just terrific. I just love his playing. It's amazing.
Yeah, he's great.
He's from Denver, and
oh, really?
I had left, in like 1990 is when we moved, and I had heard about Rudy. He must have been like, late teens or maybe 20 or something. So I was hearing like, oh, there's this, this great player, young player. And so, yeah, that's Rudy.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. He was down here a few years ago with Dave Pietro's band.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. With
Dave.
Gary Versace was playing piano.
Oh, yeah.
I interviewed Gary recently too. Just great band. Wow. Dave's
yeah.
I met Dave when I was in New York. I heard the Gil Evans project. Frank was playing. And
oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
That was great.
So many great musicians. Oh, my God.
Yeah. So what was it like? I know it was so many musicians. I'd like to hear you talk about all of your favorite musicians, but what was it like, going back a little, what was it like to break into the scene in New York City? I mean, I know you were kind of in the area, but what was it like when you actually got here and started meeting people? And
well, yeah, I mean, I guess breaking, a bit of a slow process, but, or whatever it was, I mean, I'd gotten names from friends in Denver, and also, they gave me some numbers of New York musicians, people that I'd heard of, others that I didn't know. And one thing I could say, I got this huge amount of numbers from, there was a great educator named Rich Madison.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Remember him?
I know Rich. I met Rich, yeah.
Yeah, he was a great, what was it, Euphonium?
Euphonium, right.
Yeah, I mean, what an educator. Anyway, he heard me play, and I played with him in 1990 in Denver. He was a guest at this club I was playing at. And then he got me, told me about the Great American jazz piano competition. And I entered, and I got into the competition, and I hung out with him. And anyway, he gave me a ton of names, man, just like tons of people, like heavy duty people, man. And I called a number of them, but I regret that I didn't call everybody. Everybody. I mean,
yeah, sure.
Clark Terry and like all these names, Lou Marini, and I still have them in this old address book, but that was very kind.
Yeah,
but
sure.
in retrospect, I wish I had called, but I did call a few people, and they were very nice. Most people were. I mean, and so anyway, that helped me into the scene. I had a few friends here already that were, some from Denver, and so I also just, there were as many ways as I could. I was contacting people, and then also I did a couple of jam sessions, but I was never really into that. So it turns out more of my gigs and gigging were in Philly. And so in 1992, I met Pat Martino. He heard me play, and then I started getting together with him at his home, just in duets. And he, invited me, which was a great honor. And then in 1994, he asked me to record with him, and I ended up doing 3 records that year. In 1995, he felt well enough to start playing. And so I think it was The Bottom Line was the first gig. And then it just really took off and grew. So I ended up, when I was playing with Pat, I got into the scene this way, at least, not really on the scene, but I was playing in New York, and that helped me immensely to be playing with Pat, of course.
Yeah, of course.
and then that led to being heard. And so it was a little bit getting into the scene here through the outside, not far away, but just, and then playing with Dave Liebman, but that was a connection, his big band, through a musician who was located outside of Philadelphia, and they were old friends. And, it's just these paths cross. And then I was started to get a few of my own gigs up here, small but mighty. It felt big. And then, like I said, when we moved here in 2007, then, within a week, I was just, a number of people that I knew already said, "Oh, you're here? Hey, I got a gig." Yeah. It's just like, well, I was only 65 miles away, but
yeah, it makes a difference though. Right?
It makes a difference. And so It's been really, really, really great. It was a dream come true to, still is, just to be here and playing. And consequently, I've gotten a lot of tours out of being here, with musicians here in the city. It just, I had some of that in out of Philly, particularly with Pat, but so that's so important too, at least for freelancing, being primarily a freelance musician. I mean, you can't make a living only playing local gigs in New York City, even though it's the greatest city in the world. It's not enough money. It's just nuts. But so, yeah, it's very fruitful and challenging and nutty, but rewarding in the end. Very rewarding. Yeah.
Another thing I saw, I'm jumping around here a little bit, but
yeah.
I think I saw in your bios you do a residency at the 55 bar. What does that mean exactly? Just like
the 55 it closed.
Oh no kidding.
Yeah, about a year and a half ago.
Oh,
yeah.
I think I did hear that. I just forgot.
Yeah, it's a pandemic. It didn't last. It was a mighty effort, but I played there for a long time with different people, and then fortunately my own gigs, over quite a few years, and then let me see, around 2015, I think it was, maybe the beginning of 2015, the owner offered me a once a month gig, which is the residency. So I had that, all the way through the pandemic. When it did open up, there weren't as many gigs, but so all told, it was probably like about 7 years, 5 of them were real solid, like every month. And so I was able to play with a lot of different people as guests. And also then I just formed a quartet with a violinist, Zach Brock, and Chris Terry on bass, and then Joel Rosenblatt on drums. And that group was played there most of the time for a couple of years. And anyway, what a dream to have a steady gig like that, at the 55. Play whatever you want. And it was supported, and, Funky Bar and all that stuff. But, Stern played there, and
of course,
Wayne Krantz, and just tons of people, wow. A lot of great singers, and, Paul Jost, a great singer that I work with. He had a residency there as well. And that was a big hit. I was a hit, but then we all took a hit when it closed, because there's no other club like it in New York or anywhere, because
that's what I was going to ask. Yeah, I didn't think so.
Nothing. I don't know. I mean, the money was just average, but it wasn't about that. It was, I mean, we all needed the money, but it was, and then if you wanted to go and hear music, it was such it didn't cost an arm and a leg like going to the Blue Note or something, which is just, you can't do that every night. But you could go to the 55 and, a very small cover, or you left a tip in the bucket, but you you bought drinks and you supported, and so anyway, that was a really important thing for my own playing and my own growth as a player and as a composer. It just to have a steady gig like that, Jesus, wow. So
Yeah, right.
yeah.
I have a hotel gig 3 nights a week, solo piano. So, which I'm
Oh, that's right. You were telling me.
extremely grateful for,
Wow.
And
That's
that kind of stuff. I mix it up, but I get to play some of my own music too, and
Yeah.
So
That's great, Keith. I mean, it's a big deal.
I know it's a big deal.
Yeah.
So tell me about your composing. I know you're a composer as well. Let's talk about that a little bit. I also write music, and I'm interested in hearing people's, insights into that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm a jazz pianist, but I also, part of my title is always including as a composer, even though most of the time I'm playing. So composition goes back to when I was a little kid. I brought up my older brother, and when he was in high school, I'll never forget this, he wrote a piece for the concert band, and he also conducted it, but it was called African Summer. And it was inspired primarily by, I believe this, I can't ask him now because he's departed, but you remember the movie Hatari and Henry Mancini?
I don't think I've ever seen it, but I know of it.
And Henry Mancini did the film score. And I know part of that inspired my brother. But, so it was kind of a tone poem in a way, African Summer. I mean, honestly, he was 9 years older than me, so I might have been must have been like 9 or 10. No. I had to be, or 8 or something when I heard it. But I just remember seeing him and going, wow, I was very moved by what he had done. And also, I can't remember the music, but it inspired me to have my own creative musical thoughts. And so, which I did. I remember bits and pieces when I was that age of oh yeah, here's some timpani and, just my own ideas. I didn't know how to write. So, but it started at that time. And when I was as far as composition, it started in college, I would say. Because I have nothing that I wrote from high school. I was just taking lessons and, primarily. But in college, everything just coalesced. I was 100% a musician. I wasn't helping out on the farm, or just being in sports or anything like that. Everything was music. And so it really blossomed because of course, I was inspired by, my fellow students and also all the music I was hearing, jazz music, but also classical music. Not a classical pianist, but I just love, all of the great composers and all of them. So I did begin, I took jazz piano lessons, but I also took classical lessons. And there were opportunities to write at the school for a jazz band. So I got into that, not really knowing what I was doing, but you're not supposed to know that shit yet. So,
right.
So I had really good guidance from the teachers there. And then I was writing a little bit for string quartet. And I'm not talking full compositions, just little pieces. Because then my Kathy, my girlfriend at the time, was a violist, and so she was a composer too. And so, when you have opportunity, we can write something, and the students, your colleagues, will put an ensemble together. Anyway, so I was writing small, kind of jazz trio, jazz quartet things, straight ahead or funky and things like that. and other things with lyrics and with kind of little small tone poems. But the biggest thing that happened compositionally for me in college was one of the main instructors there, named Franz Roman. He asked, this was like a huge gift, man. He said, Jim, I would like for you to invite you to write a piece to be performed with the Denver Symphony.
Oh.
Part of like a kind of a university and the city orchestra to not coincide, but
a collaboration.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. Yeah, exactly. And so some of the teachers, there were a couple of teachers that wrote, and I don't know if I might have been the only student. I can't quite remember now, I think. But anyway, it was like, wow. So I wrote a piece called Ocean Sojourn, which is a 17-minute piece for piano and orchestra. It was a classical piece, and it was an 80-piece orchestra. And I got full ride to just write, and I performed it with the orchestra too. So, and I have a recording of it. It's it's a little wobbly because of it was analog tape and but I have to say the piece has a lot of merit and really, really good compositional ideas. Too thick orchestration wise and some things like this, and my playing was very good. I would play it better now, etc. But that was like a landmark thing in my life.
I can imagine. Yeah.
To have had that opportunity to write, and the piece, just briefly, is about. I got this thought. I'd had this theme like when I was 19. I did this when I was 21. This theme that was maybe about 8 or 10 bars long, and it was like an ocean sojourn in dedication to my Norwegian grandparents. Like imagining, I mean, it's an imagination, but they did make the trip across the Atlantic. But it's more fictional in the way of it's enhanced, and so imagining, but just still imagining what that's like. You have no idea. You're in a completely new country. You don't speak the language and all this kind of stuff. But so this whole piece, it's I guess you would say it's through composed. It's 3 movements, but everything goes into the next thing. And so that was amazing, man. I just I got. There was something there that also told me, well, if you want a life as a composer, you might have the goods. You might be able to sustain that. And I did get a few, like a little things like that were possible for me. But I tell you, I just love playing piano, and I just wanted to be a jazz musician. Anyway, but I've continued to compose obviously since that time, and it's all been like, jazz oriented music. I'm going to go off a little bit here, but I have to say though, the things I've written over the years, I don't know that all of them should have necessarily fit in the context of a jazz quartet or something larger. But the fact that that's my accessibility is these great musicians. So some things can sit in a classical setting. It's just I've played them in a jazz setting because that's what's available to me. So anyway, it's a little bit of at times a dilemma, but nonetheless, geez, it's all good. And I continue to compose. I did 2 records dedicated to North Dakota, Door in a Field. And I meant to send you, some links, and I did not do that,
We're going to
unfortunately.
talk about that because I'm going to ask you some questions about that
Yeah.
too, actually. So,
But I've written music in dedication to also to where I grew up, specific compositions toward that. And then of course, just, straight ahead stuff, Latin and, specifically writing for people that I'm playing with. And so, yeah, and some new, few recordings from the last couple of years and things like that. So it's ongoing,
yeah, sure.
I don't know if you find this for yourself, but when you're really busy playing, sometimes it's hard to kind of find the time to write.
Yeah, it's hard to find the time to do anything. It's hard.
Yeah.
Besides, I teach a lot too, so it's.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I do martial arts too, so I'm busy.
Wow. Yeah, it takes a discipline to include it, but anyway, I'm working on that. Hopefully, we'll get that together.
Yeah, we'll work on it together.
All right.
Yeah. So, well, all that talk about this. First of all, I'd love to hear your composition from college if you're willing to share it with me sometime.
I'll send it to you.
I'd love to hear it. And that brings me to my next question for you. Is I'd like to ask you to recommend some of your favorite recordings that you're on. I ask everybody this question, actually. I'd like to know some of your favorite recordings that you're on, not just necessarily your own recordings, but favorite recordings that you're playing on, and kind of why.
Yeah. Two that stand out. There's a great saxophonist composer, Charles Pillow, Pillow. He's on the scene here in New York for a long time, and I was looking at this last night, and then it was like, I go, man, I'm too late to send this to Keith, but it is on YouTube. And Charles did this whole thing of reimagining pictures at an exhibition, Mussorgsky's opus, and he did it for like kind of a small group ensemble, and it's one of my favorite things to be part of. I mean, I like how I play on it, but I like being part of this thing that he created. It's like compositional, yet there's a lot of blowing, and it's really and it's 20 years ago that he did it, and I go, wow, I can't believe it's been 20 years, but that's something that always sticks with me. Just something, and I have to say, I mean, so anyway, that's one thing with Charles, and of course, let me see, like with Pat Martino, one that's really soulful to me is there's a piece called "You're Welcome to a Prayer," and it's on the Maker. But that particular piece it's a ballad that Pat wrote, and it's kind of an extended piano solo in front, ensemble, and then piano solo at the end. That's a very meaningful. I mean, all the stuff I played with him is really important to me. And things, different things with Joe Locke, just from the last two records, are also just very challenging music, but he's such a great composer and a lot of written piano stuff. And in a way, I just feel there's some good moments where I'm soloing that I appreciate how I'm playing, but also how I'm playing as far as in an ensemble and playing his music. I'm very, I don't know, just my musicianship, I feel is I did a good job, and it served his purposes, as a composer. But obviously he likes my playing, but that's important to me. There's things with Paul Jost, who I work with, some really great stuff with Paul. I mean, I let me see, what's the name of the record? Anyway, it's like a couple of current records that's out. And then there's quite a few people, but another one I want to mention is there's this singer, Gabriela Anders. She's from Argentina, but she's in New York, although I think she's back in Argentina now. But I'm on a couple of her recordings, and I have to say that's some of my favorite playing of mine, because it's just less. I mean, I like some of these settings where, I mean, I love the settings where I'm blowing and it's like, wow, it's really driving hard. But I also like things where it's a bit more subtle. And on a number of things with her, it's that comes across. There's a record called Cool Again. And yeah, just kind of throughout that record, I'm just more subtle with things I'm doing. And then there's a duet record, a piano and voice. I'm on like 4 cuts, and then Jean-Michel Pilk, a great French pianist, and then John Coward, he's on it, and it's, we're all different, but it's Gabriela's, her music and choice of music. And so that record is, I think it's hard to find. It's not on a major label. It's like maybe Bandcamp, or if you go to her site, you can find it. But yeah, I know there's more, and I'm definitely forgetting things, but there's a lot of people that there's always some good stuff with
Sure.
all these people I play with,
So what about your own recordings?
Yeah, I brought up The Door in a Field. There's volume 1, volume 2. The first one is just called Door in a Field, but the composition's there. It's more compositional, but the playing is really, really good with my bandmates. I don't have a million records out, but there's also going back a bit further, there's or later, one of my first trio records is 5 Minutes to Madness and Joy. That's
nice title.
Yeah, it's inspired by Walt Whitman, 1 Hour to Madness and Joy. There's Blue Corn Enchilada Dreams.
Nice.
That's inspired by Santa Fe in New Mexico. Terrell Stafford's on that, and that's very cool. And then a couple of recent ones. They're live. There's a Jim Ridl Trio live standards that just came out last year. Yeah, and then Jesus, what's the name of the Ask for the Ancient Path.
Yeah, I saw that on your website too.
It's recorded a while ago, but it was just recently released, that I put out. Scott Robinson, Tim Horner, and Martin Wind.
Well, and some good players for that.
Yeah, I know. So tough to find good players. Jesus. Yeah. So anyway, those are, recent things, and I have some other stuff I'm seeing about releasing. That was recorded during the pandemic, some live stuff, but I think important to get out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah.
Man, this doing this podcast is going to make me broke buying CDs and downloading music.
You know what, though? I'd be glad to send you CDs.
Sure. That'd be beautiful.
Let me do that, so you're not spending any money. And
I mean, I'm happy to do it, but I'm joking, but it's been a real inspiration to hear. I like to ask people, tell me what you like of your own stuff.
Yeah, I'd be glad to, because I have copies, and it's nice to share them,
that.
with you, for sure, man.
So
yeah.
This has been great so far. This has been a great conversation. I want to ask you another thing. I know you're a teacher. I mean, you said it's not predominantly what you do, but I teach as well, and I always like to ask people about your approach to teaching. What do you think is important? What's important? What do you like to convey to your students?
Well, the I mean, this has, grown in me over the years as far as like a philosophy of my own teaching, and I believe it to be this. Let me preface it by saying there's so much I don't know. I mean, there are gaps in my own jazz history, and there's so many records I don't know that a lot of my friends know and they grew up with, and I'll just never get to all of it. So, but I leave that out of the picture when I teach, and my thing is just, I'm going to teach, I'll give you everything I know, like that I know through my experience, what I've been taught, also through my experience of playing. And what I don't know, I don't try and, say, oh yeah, I know about that. Well, no, I'll say it as much too. So it's a very honest approach. The thing is, I have very few books that I use for teaching. I have a lot of materials that I've written out. A lot of the students that I have over the years are primarily, they're not professional musicians, although they're very talented. Maybe they were for a while. They have other gigs in life, that's their main thing. And so a lot of students that I have these days are, either rekindling their love of playing, or they're, they had a classical background and now they're wanting to learn jazz. So a lot of the stuff I'm teaching is fundamental, really foundational stuff that they need to know, which I enjoy. So, and if I need to direct them with books and stuff, I'm totally open to that. But and so I'll have students my generation, and of course younger, and then I have one 11-year-old student, which I don't take young students because I feel like if they need to piano technique and all these kind of more pedantic kind of things, pedagogical, it's like I go, I'm not the guy. I'm not the teacher for that. But this student, she's great, and I'm teaching her jazz piano, and it's and I'm treating her the same as I do, for the most part, adult students. And it's even though she's got really good ears. Anyway, it's interesting. It's a young person like that I can teach, but I'm teaching what I know and what I can articulate well. But other stuff how to keep your hands and the weight of the fingers is just I don't know. I do know, but it's not something that when they're that age, they should have some pretty strict, not strict, but really, to me anyway, a dedicated teacher. So now that's kind of that part of it. Now this 2 weeks ago, I taught. It was my second time at this conservatory in Holland, and I taught there for a week, and I had 4 to 5 classes a day, ensembles, an improvisation class, and a master class, a standards class, number of different things like that. So these are dedicated students who are, in their late teens, early 20s, some of them a little bit older in the masters. So everything was kind of obviously brought up as far as knowledge. They know a lot of things already. So, but it was still the same idea of a lot of the work was on standards, and I played nearly all the standards, but I don't know all of them from memory.
Sure.
But I say what I know. What I can help with, and by playing and things like that. So I'm glad to say that I can offer a lot to musicians, whether they be professionals or Just they're doing it for the love of it. But I think it's really just it's coming from. I mean, I have a lot to give because it's a lot of it primarily through experience, and I know my theory very well. I mean, I'm very clear with that and those kinds of things. But I don't know. It's shoot, I can't remember that author's name, but it was a really great book on teaching, just not jazz, but just in general. And I think it's something like when you teach, you bring like 80 or try and bring 80% of yourself to the table. I mean, it's really you bring you to it. Does that make sense? Or
Absolutely.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
absolutely.
You know,
I agree with what you said. You can only teach. I mean, you can only teach what you know. I mean, like I do, I'll talk about something that I don't really like. I'll say I can't. I'll say I'm not really good at this, but this is an idea you might want to know about. And
oh yeah, great.
We could talk more about it, or you can look into it for yourself. Or I recommend that you look into this. But
yeah,
I might not be able to do it that well myself. But I think it's important for you where you are to think about this.
Yeah, that's great, man. Same for me. It's like and also like that as an example as well. How do you convey? How do you steer a student in a really clear way, an encouraging way, to get that information, even if you don't know exactly everything about it? But it's like I can say that because I can go. You know, one of my inspirations is Vladimir Horowitz, the great classical pianist. I mean, he's one of my all-time favorite pianists, and I like wore out the CD and the video of his concert in Moscow when he returned. He hadn't been there in 62 years, and he was like close to 80 at the time of his playing. And a really big influence for me. But I can't play anything that he plays.
Yeah.
And yet his sound and the sound he produced, I know has had a positive effect on playing piano. It's just, it helped my touch and my consciousness of how to make, you know, a line sing, how to get a deeper tone, yet maybe a lighter, still at the same time lighter. I mean, etc.
Yeah,
And
I hear
so
that in your playing. I definitely hear that in your playing. Yeah.
well, that's like those kinds of things I got, you know, directly, say from Horowitz or Rubinstein or or other pianists. And now that's something I can steer a student toward and go, okay. And I can help shape the context of it, you know, because it's like, well, this, for instance, with Horowitz, he's been dead a long time, but he was highly influential and always will be through his recordings and videos. And you go, and you have to check him out. You have to look at him and go, because he's very different getting this beautiful sound than Rubinstein or Herbie Hancock or Keith Jarrett. It's like, well, how does that happen? You know, and that's fun to explore, to give that away to students, even though I can't go, well, I'm going to play, you know, something by Scarlatti that I don't do it.
Yeah.
Could I? Well, I didn't start early enough. That's not my thing.
Yeah, me too.
You know, but yet I get that's what I love about this art form, is that we can take in all these things from completely different styles, and they get in us and they come out in our playing or our writing or our communication. It's almost like a misfit jazz, like the culture there's a little bit of that misfit where you feel, I don't quite fit here, I don't quite fit there. Well, you're welcome here because you got something to say. We want that.
Yeah.
You know,
everybody's welcome if they have something to say.
Yeah, exactly. It's a really good space and environment, you know, for individual. And I mean, I encourage that? Well, it's not something I bring up all the time, but because sometimes, like I said, with a lot of students, I, I can't necessarily, like, we can have a philosophical or a more that kind of conversation, but when it's just like trying to play the blues and keep the 12 bars together, it's
Right.
like that's really, really important.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
so they find the soulfulness in those 12 bars without, but I love it. I'm getting better at it. I grow every year. And that's good. I've been very driven by, I still am, about being a player, and keeping my playing up high. But man, working with students is, I'm really enjoying it, and I love when they get something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
it's like I go, yeah. This is it's good to share it.
absolutely.
So
I
yeah,
teach a lot of
interesting.
kids that go to a local fine arts high school, and that's really interesting to see them develop.
Yeah,
Hopefully help them. Steer them a little bit.
yeah, exactly.
Well, man, this has been just great conversation. I hope we can continue having some of these conversations at beyond this interview.
Yeah, I agree, Keith. Thank you so much, man,
This
for
has been just great. Yeah.
for asking me to do this with you, but to share,
Absolutely.
share things. It's great.
Well,
Yeah.
I appreciate you doing it. Absolutely. It's wonderful. So is there anything else you'd like to say before we wrap this up?
Let me see. Well, I have to. Well, yeah, just whatever.
Please,
It's been an interesting experience for me. Like from September 15th until October 24th, I just haven't had a run of being on the road. Like essentially 2 tours, like 2 weeks with Tim, and then I was home for 4 days, but I had like one overnight gig, so I was still kind of in the groove.
Yeah.
And then I went to Holland and for a week, and then I'll just go through it quickly. It's just important, but like London one night, Barcelona the next night, Amsterdam the next night. It was an ass kicker. Hard, not much sleep, but really great music with a quartet and a singer. And then I had a few days off, and then I went to a trio, like in Leeds, UK, and then 3 gigs in Ireland. And all of it, it was like, I just haven't had a run like that in a long, I've done touring and stuff, but sometimes it's, shorter things. And it's a trippy to be in that again. And I really, really enjoy it. I mean, I miss being away from my wife, Kathy, and stuff, but she's totally cool. She's a musician, and we've been together many, many years. So we know the groove, but the positive things were seeing new places and playing with new musicians, sharing my original music, playing standards, and teaching. Inside of that, there were some workshops after that week of teaching. And, you make all these connections and you go, how is this working in this crazy world that's going on?
Right.
And the beauty of music and the art form is just, it's trippy. I mean, it's kind of surreal in a way, but really, really positive. And I grew, I know I grew as far as a player, especially with Tim's project, and then as a teacher. So, safe, good travels, got there, got back. Especially at this age, man, it's like very thankful for, and doing this. I mean, I don't do this kind of thing every day, and it means a lot to share. So I appreciate it.
It means a lot to me to have you here. So
also. Yeah, it's all part of the thing,
Yeah, the other great thing about this is I get to meet all these great musicians and talk to them. I'm not in New York. I'm in South Carolina. I'm not around all of you guys, but I meet all of you and have conversations with you and establish some contacts of my own and get
Yeah.
a lot of insights and a lot of inspiration. I get a lot of inspiration from doing this. So,
Yeah. Well, let's definitely stay in touch and
yeah,
chat,
absolutely.
some more. I really appreciate it, Keith.
Yeah, thank you too. Let's talk
All right.
soon.
Okay. See you.
See ya.
Bye.